Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookercast, the podcast where books come to life.
And I'm so excited to dive into another amazing story with all of you.
Whether you're a bookworm or just love a good story, this is the place for you.
Every episode, we explore incredible books, talk about their stories and characters, and share insights that'll make you fall in love with reading all over again.
All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Get comfortable, and let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into Dune Messiah?
I'm ready. Definitely a different beast than Dune.
It is. We saw Paul Atreides become Emperor Modib, right?
Yeah.
Total control of the spice, the universe at his command. But this book, this sequel, flips the script.
Yeah. It takes us down a much darker path, like the underbelly of power, prophecy, leadership, all that.
We're going to see how it all can go wrong.
Exactly. We pick up 12 years later, Paul's at the height of his power, but he's not exactly living the dream.
It's like, be careful what you wish for.
Right. And one of the first things we see is just how much Paul is struggling with prescience.
It's tormenting him.
Completely. Visions, a path he can't escape, feels predetermined. It's almost like you know the ending of a movie, but you're forced to watch it all play out anyway.
And you can't change anything.
Powerless.
And it's not just the future that's weighing on him.
Yeah.
There's so much going on politically.
Oh, yeah.
It's all conspiracies and scheming,
Well, that's what happens when you're in charge, right?
I guess.
Everyone wants what you have, and Paul's prescience just makes him a bigger target.
Like the Bene Gesserit. They never really went away, did they?
Never. They're still pulling strings.
Always playing the long game.
Always. Remember they had their own plans for the Atreides bloodline?
Oh, yeah.
And their reverend mother, Mohiam, master manipulator, she wants to control Paul and his potential heirs.
And don't even get me started on the Tulalaks.
Oh, they're creepy.
Seriously creepy. Face dancers. I mean, beings that can just turn into anyone.
It's unsettling. And their representative, Scytale, he's chilling.
He really is.
Obsessed with control, and he will use anyone to get what he wants.
Anything.
He's the embodiment of that Tlalaksu philosophy. You know, that idea that every question really comes down to who's got the power.
Yeah.
They see Paul as a threat, but also a tool, someone they can exploit.
And then there's Irulan, Paul's own wife.
Well, wife in name only, right.
Right.
Purely political, to keep the great houses happy.
But she's not exactly sitting on the sidelines either.
Oh no, she's got her own ambitions, wants a dynasty.
And she's working with the Bene Gesserit.
Right. Spying on Paul, plotting. It's a dangerous game.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
It's like everyone around Paul is using him.
They are.
He can't trust anyone.
It's the nature of power, right? Even when you're surrounded by people, you can be totally alone.
And Paul, with his prescience,
Oh, it just adds to the isolation.
knowing what everyone's thinking.
Exactly. He sees all the potential outcomes, the paths, the consequences. It's paralyzing.
And what about Chani? I mean, she loves Paul.
She does.
But their relationship,
Yeah, it's complicated.
she wants a child,
Yeah,
an heir. And you can't blame her for that. It's natural.
it is.
But that puts even more pressure on Paul.
Right, because an heir would solidify the dynasty.
Yeah.
But it also makes Paul vulnerable to manipulation.
We were talking about how Dune Messiah kind of messes with that whole hero's journey thing.
Yeah.
Paul's supposed to be the hero, but he's constantly reacting to everyone else's schemes.
It's one of the most brilliant things Herbert does. He takes this incredibly powerful figure and just humanizes him, shows us his flaws, his anxieties.
There's a point where Paul has this vision of a falling moon. I mean, that can't be good, right?
No, it's an omen. It haunts him throughout the book, symbolizes this terrible price he thinks he has to pay.
To end the jihad.
The jihad. It's all happening in his name, this bloody religious war.
And he's the one who has to stop it.
The falling moon. It's a powerful symbol of the destruction. Even when he's trying to do good, to guide humanity, it seems like it all leads to chaos.
So he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Yes.
And then there's this idea of the golden path.
Right. Paul sees this preordained future. It's a path he feels he has to follow, even if it destroys him.
So he's always wrestling with this question. Can he change it? Or is his fate sealed?
It's the core of his struggle.
Wow. So we've got Paul, this emperor who's trapped by his own powers.
Yes.
Powerful factions all trying to control him.
Right.
And this feeling like it's all about to explode.
It is.
And we haven't even talked about Aaliyah.
Oh, Aaliyah.
She's a whole other level of complicated.
She is born with the memories and awareness of a reverend mother. She's powerful, but she also embodies everything that's dangerous about prescience. We see her struggling with these ancient memories,
Yeah.
engaging in these disturbing displays of power.
Herbert doesn't shy away from the dark stuff, does he?
He doesn't, and that's what makes Dune Messiah so compelling. It challenges us, forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths about power, prophecy.
About what it means to be human.
Exactly. And we're just getting started. One of the things that really sets Dune Messiah apart is how it digs into the consequences of Paul's choices. We see how his rule is actually impacting Arrakis, the people.
And it's not all good.
Not at all. The Fremen, they were these fierce desert warriors.
Right.
But under Paul's rule, they've almost become domesticated.
Yeah.
And some of them, they're not happy about it.
Not at all. Like Stilgar.
Oh, Stilgar, Paul's closest advisor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, a freeman.
Yeah.
But he's torn. He's loyal to Muad'Dib, but he sees what's happening to his people, to their culture.
And it troubles him deeply.
Remember that scene where Paul, disguised as a freeman, goes to see Stilgar?
Oh, yeah.
It's so tense.
There's this unspoken anxiety.
Like Stilgar knows something's wrong, but he can't say it.
And it's brilliantly written. You can just feel it, the sense that everything's falling apart, even if it looks okay on the surface.
Stilgar's like this voice of tradition.
He is.
The old Frev way of life.
Which is being eroded.
By the Imperium.
Exactly.
And then there's that scene in the temple on Arrakis. It's supposed to be a holy place, but it feels more like a propaganda machine.
That's exactly what it is. The Khazaret.
The religious organization.
Around Paul's worship. Yeah. It's become this tool for control. And Alia.
She's become a major player in the Khazaret.
She has.
Using her prescience to
manipulate people.
Totally. Building up this whole cult of personality around Paul.
It's scary. It's like Herbert's warning us about blind faith. How easily religious fervor can be twisted.
For political gain.
Absolutely. And it's really prescient when you think about it. He read this in the 60s, but these themes, they feel so relevant today. Religious extremism, political polarization.
It's all there.
It's all there.
Okay, so let's talk about Duncan, Idaho.
Or
hate.
Right. The Gula of Duncan, Idaho.
Bringing back Paul's swordmaster as a clone, it's brilliant, but it's also really creepy.
It is. Gulas are just unsettling. They're clones, right? Grown from the original's genetic material.
Yeah.
But are they really the same person? Do they have the memories, the personality, the soul?
A big question.
And Herbert doesn't give us an easy answer, which is what makes hate so disturbing.
And then, of course, we find out that he's been programmed
by the Tleilaxu.
To call Paul.
It's like this ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Right there in Paul's inner circle.
It is. And Bijaz, that twisted little Tleilaxu dwarf.
Yeah.
He lays out the plan. They want to use hate to destabilize Paul so they can take control of the spice.
Classic Tleilaxu. Playing the long game, no matter the cost.
But here's the thing. Paul's prescient.
Right.
He knows all this is happening. The conspiracies, hates programming, even the falling moon.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he stop it?
That's the central question. It's what makes this book so fascinating. Paul's prescience. It's his greatest strength, but it's also his biggest weakness.
Wow.
Because it limits his choices. He sees these possible futures, these paths, but when he tries to avoid the bad outcomes.
It makes them more likely.
Exactly.
So he's stuck. He sees what's coming, but he can't do anything about it.
He's trapped by his own knowledge. Imagine knowing the future, but being powerless to change it.
That would be awful.
It's torture for Paul, this burden of knowledge.
Yeah, that scene where Paul confronts Korba, the Khazar leader.
Oh, yeah.
The one who authorized the construction of a stone burner, an atomic weapon. Illegal.
It's such a tense scene. You can feel Paul's anger, his frustration.
He's losing control.
He is. And that scene shows us how much the conspiracies are escalating. Even those who claim to be loyal to Paul are working against him.
And the stone burner?
Yeah.
That's a sign of desperation.
It is. They're playing a dangerous game. And it's about to blow up in everyone's faces.
It feels like everything's building to this breaking point.
It is.
The political maneuvering, the religious fanaticism, the Tleilaxu, and Paul's right in the middle of it all.
Trying to hold everything together.
Knowing it's all going to come crashing down.
And then the unthinkable happens.
Oh, what happened?
Scytale. Disguised as Lichna, Othanim's daughter.
Right.
He uses a miniature stone burner to blind Paul.
He's blind.
Yes.
But he's Muad'Dib.
That's the turning point. Paul's blindness. It represents the loss of his prescience.
He can't see the future anymore.
No.
He's lost control.
He has. And he's forced to confront his own limitations. Mortality.
Chani, she's poisoned.
By the conspirators.
Yes, and she dies in Paul's arms.
It is. Herbert doesn't pull any punches. And it's in that moment, this moment of utter loss, that Paul realizes he has to make a choice. He can give in to despair, let the conspirators win, or he can embrace his destiny, even if it means losing everything.
Well, what does he do?
He chooses sacrifice. He knows his children.
The twins, Leto II and Ganima.
They're going to be born with prescience, just like Alia. So he walks into the desert to die. He gives up his power to ensure his children survive.
It's a tragic end for a character who had so much promise. But it's also kind of fitting.
It is.
He dies as a Fremen, embracing the culture that shaped him, rejecting the Imperium that he created.
It's a complex ending, ambiguous, leaves us with more questions than answers.
That's what makes Dune Messiah so powerful, so thought-provoking. It makes you question everything, those in power.
It makes you think about the choices we make, the ethical complexities.
It's like Dune Messiah is almost the opposite of Dune in a way. Well, in the first book, we see Paul rise to power. He seems totally in control of his destiny, like he's got it all figured out.
Yeah.
But here, in the sequel, his prescience is like this trap. He's always reacting.
He is. He's reacting to forces that he can't really control.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Herbert really flips the script.
Yeah.
Shows us the downside of prophecy and what it really means to be a leader.
Because that prescience, it seemed like this awesome gift in Dune.
Right.
But now, it's a burden. It forces Paul to make these impossible choices with horrible consequences.
He's caught in this web of fate, and the more he fights it,
the worse it gets.
Exactly.
It's almost tragic. He's surrounded by enemies, betrayed by people he thought he could trust. He loses everything.
He does. His sight, his love, even his freedom.
Yeah.
And all because he was trying to save humanity.
It's kind of messed up.
Well, it shows us how power corrupts, even when someone has good intentions.
Yeah. Paul becomes this prisoner of his own myth.
He does. The legend of Muad'Dib. Everyone worships him as a god, but he can't escape.
And those forces, I mean, they just never let up.
No, the Bene Gesserit, the Talaxu, even Irulan.
They're all using him.
For their own gain. Remember that quote from Sightale? What is justice? Two forces collide. Each may have the right in his own sphere. And here's where an emperor commands orderly solutions.
Chilling.
It is. It reminds us that whoever has the power, they decide what justice means.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
Like, who's really benefiting from all this? Is it the people, or is it just the ones in control?
That's what Herbert wants us to ask Dune Messiah. It's not just a sci-fi story. It's about power. It's about fanaticism. It's about fighting for freedom when everyone wants to control you.
So, where do we go from here?
Paul's dead. His kids, Leto II and Ganima, they're just babies. But they've inherited his legacy. And all those people who are against him, they're still out there, waiting.
Dune Messiah is really a bridge to the rest of the Dune saga. It ends with tragedy, but also hope. Paul's sacrifice saves his children, and it sets these events in motion that are going to change everything for Arrakis, for the Imperium.
Right.
It's crazy how, even though Paul's gone, you can still feel his presence.
Yeah.
In the rest of the series, like his choices, his mistakes, his sacrifice, it all has this huge impact.
It does. Herbert leaves us with this uncertainty, but also this sense of possibility. The golden path, that future Paul saw, it's still happening, but we don't know how it's going to play out anymore.
So for people who haven't read past Dune Messiah, does the story get even wilder?
Oh, yeah. Herbert's imagination is incredible. The Dune saga keeps going. We see more about ecology, evolution, politics, religion. It just gets more and more mind-blowing.
I'm going to have to check out the next book. This has been great, this deep dive. It's made me see Dune Messiah in a whole new light.
It's a book that rewards rereading, you know? You always find something new, some little detail you missed before, some deeper meaning.
I think what really gets me is this idea that even when things seem impossible, we still have a choice.
We do.
Paul was trapped, but he still made a decision. He made a sacrifice that changed everything.
That's a powerful message. Even in the darkest times, there's still hope, there's still love, and the ability to make a difference.
That's the legacy of Dune Messiah, right?
And it is.
And it still resonates with people today. Well, that's our deep dive into Dune Messiah. We hope you enjoyed it.
We did.
Be sure to check out the show notes for more info and some links to other resources. If you have any questions or just want to share your thoughts, leave us a comment on our website.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
And until next time,
keep exploring, keep questioning,
and keep diving deep.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Bookercast. We hope you enjoyed diving into it as much as we did. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. See you in the next deep dive. Bye for now, and happy reading.